Hey guys, Becky here with Design Bundles, and I'm super excited to have you join me today because we have a really great tutorial for all of my Sublimation users who also straddle the fence between Silhouette and Cricut. What we're showing you is how to set up a design to print in Silhouette Studio so you can take advantage of that larger print size, but still be able to cut your corresponding vinyl in Cricut Design Space. Alright guys, so here we are in Silhouette Studio, and I really get asked this question all the time because people ask me, what software do you use to print sublimation? And I immediately answer Silhouette Studio. And that's because I really do use Silhouette Studio. But guys, Silhouette Studio is more native to me because I started using a Silhouette Cameo cutting machine. So I already knew how to use Silhouette Studio. But what I get asked all the time is, Becky, I have a Cricut. How can I set up a file to print from Silhouette Studio and cut on my Cricut? Now guys, this is going to be for like cutting glitter heat transfer vinyl or for cutting Caesar Easy Subli. Okay, now what you cannot do, I cannot do this as a print and cut, but I can set up my file, save it from Silhouette Studio, open it in Cricut and resize it to cut the correct size to do either Caesar Easy Subli or glitter heat transfer vinyl. Okay, now if that's what you're looking for, is you're looking for a project on how to set up or how to do the glitter heat transfer vinyl or how to do the Caesar Easy Subli, we have individual videos on those. What we're going to show you in this video is how to combine Silhouette Studio and a Cricut cutting machine. That way you can get the best of both worlds. You're not limited to the print and cut size of the Cricut to be able to print your design and match up your cut file. Okay? Now, this is going to assume that you have the business edition of Silhouette Studio. Now again, not that I want to continually refer you to other videos, but we do have videos that show you how to save files from Silhouette Studio and use them in Cricut. Okay, so we're going to go over that part just a little bit, but if you're looking for that more in depth, we have a separate video on that. Okay, so if you're looking for glitter heat transfer vinyl tutorials, easy Subli tutorials, or simply moving files from Cricut to, or from Silhouette to Cricut, we have individual, more in-depth videos. And that's why we break these down so that you can get all your questions answered and individual attention to that topic. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. But I've been rambling on for 2.5 minutes already, so let's get down to business. I'm going to go ahead and bring in the PNG file that I'm going to use for printing my sublimation. Now I used a shortcut on my keyboard, but you can simply go to File and Merge. And there it is in my Downloads folder. So this is going to import. It is not on a transparent background. Now it doesn't necessarily have to be on a transparent background, but for our purposes, we're going to trace it anyway. All right. So what I'm going to do, I am going to open my trace panel, select trace area, and I'm going to select this entire design. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the scale. It only goes down to 4. It's not just you, I promise. But I'm going to increase the threshold. And for this design, what I want is I want it to completely fill in, at least around the outside edges. Okay, so this is an example. I don't care that it did not fill in the bottom pieces of my cup outside or my sleeve is. What I do care is that I have a full solid outline around it. Okay, same thing with over here on the books. All right, that is a-okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Trace and Detach. Now that is not a tool that I recommend very often. There's not a lot of reasons why you would want to use Trace and Detach, but this is one of them. Okay. And what that's going to do is it's going to detach the background. All right, but I still, oops. All right, group them back together. You can be on the lookout for little stragglers like that. You don't always pick them up, but they're grouped together. So let me show you. There we go. All right, now let's talk about this for a minute. If it bothers you about the inside of these letters, all right, then what you're going to want to do is a normal trace. But for what we're going to do, because we're going to create an offset anyway, and our offset is going to be white anyway, the inside of these letters and like the inside of the life are not going to be important for this project, okay? But let's just say that it is important, and I don't want the white border, okay? Let's play that game. Let's start new. We're going to go ahead and bring that file in again, because it's really only one more step anyway. I'm going to select trace area, and I'm still going to reduce my scale, and I'm going to turn my threshold to 99. And then I'm going to trace. Just regular trace, not trace and detach. Now watch what I do here. I'm going to control left arrow on my keyboard. That creates an exact duplicate one space over. That's going to be important. Then I'm going to release the compound path. And what it's going to do is it's going to release all these pieces. So guys, that's why I like to do the trace and attach. It's because I don't have to come in here and do any type of modifying. But it can be done, and I will show you. All I want to do is I want to hold down my shift key, and I'm going to click on everything I want to keep. And you do have to click on the red line, but you notice as I make my way through, it's deselecting all these areas. So I just want to make sure that I get all of the outlines. Sometimes you have to zoom in. Okay, once we've deselected everything, and you'll become more familiar with that as you work more in Silhouette Studio, but being able to hold down the shift key is a pretty big deal in my opinion, that I can, deselect the parts I don't want to keep. And then I'm just going to hit delete. Now I'm going to select all of this and make a compound path. Now watch, here's where the magic happens. I'm going to control right. That's going to put that right back where it belongs, and then I can open my modify panel and crop it down. Okay, that's going to give me the same thing, except it does take out all the insides of those letters. Now I can delete the clip art. Now, why did I do all that? Well, because it's important that you know that sometimes you're going to have to manipulate your design in the software, okay? So if you are importing a design, because, especially if you have a white background, but even if I had had a transparent background, the file was still not set up to cut around my design. It still would have only cut a square unless I have upgraded to a Silhouette Studio that has an auto trace feature. I don't recommend that yet because it's a little buggy. All right, I just want to let you know that. So we should not be there yet, but if you are and you say, Becky, it's already been traced, well, maybe you do have the auto trace feature. But for the rest of us, this is what we have to do. We have to decide, do we want to do trace and detach, which is super easy, by the way. You saw how much easier that was. Or do we want to get the inside of those letters? All right, let's get back on track. I know you're telling me, Becky, you're getting off track. You're overloading my brain here. That's okay. All right. Just do the trace and detach. It's much easier. And then the more advanced you get in Silhouette Studio, you can start using the make and release compound path and the crop. Okay. Now, what I want to do, I personally am a fan of being able to create an offset and have a white border around my design. I don't know why I like that look, but I do. So let's go ahead and create an offset. Now your offset does not have to be thick. It's completely up to you. I usually do, for this size, I usually do about a 0.1. And I'll hit apply. And then you'll group it together. Now guys, that is the file that you want to be able to get over into Cricut. Okay, so what I want to do is, first of all, if I do any type of sizing, I want to make sure that I size these together. All right, so let's group them for the moment, and say I'm going to do an adult large shirt. I want that to be 11 inches wide. Now I can ungroup it, and I have the two pieces. They are sized correctly. What I want to do, if I'm going to print this from, because I would never be able to print a design this large from Cricut Design Space. What I'm going to do is I will go ahead and flip it, because guys, my printer is not set up to mirror automatically. If yours is, then don't flip it. You don't want to do it twice because they'll cancel each other out. All right, I'm gonna flip it, and then I'm gonna print this from Silhouette Studio and straight to my Sublimation printer. Okay, once I'm done printing, I'm gonna move this out of the way, and I'm going to put this cut file back. All right, so then I'm gonna go to File, Save As, Save to Hard Drive. Now I can save it anywhere I want. Let's go ahead, we'll just throw it in our Downloads folder. I'm gonna save it as an SVG, and I'm gonna say Teacher Life. Now let's go over to Cricut Design Space. All right, so once you're in Cricut Design Space, just go to Upload, just like you would any other design. Go to Browse and grab that Teacher Life SVG. There it is, exactly like we set it up. Now, here's the important part to remember is you have to resize it. So remember when I said we were doing an adult large shirt? Well, that means that I already know, because I sized the file to be 11 inches, that I need it to be 11 inches here in Cricut Design Space also. But what happens if that's not the case? What happens if you didn't size it to exactly 11 inches? Let's go back to Silhouette Studio. Then what I would do is I would just come in here, click on the file that I'm bringing over, and you'll see it gives me the measurements here at the bottom, 11 inches and 10.48. It's also up here on the top toolbar, right here in the middle. It'll give me the exact measurements. So then I come into Cricut Design Space and I have the same thing. I have a top toolbar that I can type in the exact measurements for. And guys, that is how you know that you're going to get the exact sizing that you need. So you have to make sure that the exact sizing is set up in both software to be exactly the same. Okay, now you can print from Silhouette Studio because you already did, right? And I can cut this on my Cricut so that I can line up my design exactly how I want it to be. Then I can proceed to press that on a shirt or a tote bag or whatever I want, because guys, this is a really awesome file. I personally am going to make a couple tote bags and hand them out to some teacher friends, but just really, really awesome. And don't forget that part of the reason we enjoy doing this is because this is going to open us up to be able to use dark fabrics and cotton fabrics. Okay, so hopefully I explained this well. Hopefully you guys were able to follow along. I know I kind of threw a lot of information in there as far as the tracing part. So if that's not useful to you, then you can skip right over it. But sometimes you need to know how to do that. So if you're not very familiar with tracing, we do have some videos on tracing. We have videos on Easy Subli and Glitter HTV. Lots of really great videos out there. So make sure that you check out those videos if you need to. But for today's project, this is the gist of it, and we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. So guys, how did you feel about learning how to set up your sublimation designs to print from Silhouette Studio and be able to still cut that design on your Cricut? Now, some of you may have figured that out already. I do know that, if you are a more advanced user, that's not going to be rocket science for you. But hopefully you still learned something along the way. And hopefully for all of you beginners who this question has just been plaguing you, because I know that you guys have been asking for it, I hope this tutorial was useful for you. So if you have any questions or comments, make sure you leave those down below. I love hearing from you. I love building this little crafting community where we can all help each other out. And I am going to wrap it up for today, but also make sure you like, subscribe, share with a crafty friend. All right, it really helps us out so that we can keep bringing you these videos in the future. So once again, guys, that's all I got for today, but thanks again. We will see you next time.